Good evening. I just want to start off by saying that I don't have any fancy equipment and I'm recording this from my phone and I want to keep my identity concealed. But some of you may know I had a page on Facebook back in 2023, 2022 under Bianca, talking about the YMCA, Gamble Nipper, and the child pornography and the sex trafficking. It's been 3 years now and I'm still alive. I'm still sex trafficked, but I want to make this video as short and brief as possible for those in Cincinnati, especially, or anybody that has questions about what's going on with our children in Cincinnati, what's going on with the crime rate in Cincinnati, people who want answers instead of the runaround of what's going on in Cincinnati. I'm going to try to make these audios as short as possible. Like I said, I want to keep my identity concealed, but I am still sex trafficked. And I want to talk about the mayor of Cincinnati, Aftab Peruval. I want to dig into Pavan, and I want to go into the vice mayor and the Cincinnati police and how this correlates to the crime cartel and the businesses that are linked into the sex trafficking in Cincinnati. It's very complex, so I'm going to try to break it down. And, if you could put the puzzles and the pieces together with what you see every day in Cincinnati, and kind of, especially for those of us civilians that have been questioning what's going on behind the scenes of the escalation of the violence. So I want to start by talking about the mayor of Cincinnati, Aftab Peruval. Aftab Peruval has been with us in Cincinnati for approximately 20 years now. And what Aftab has done is he's obtained his degrees at UC. He has practiced law. He has moved himself up in rank. And what he has done is he has sold the Cincinnati children and he has sold the Cincinnati women to international crime cartels, child prostitution cartels. And how that links into other business is it takes a lot of businesses to run this cartel. So there's a lot of illegal people here in our apartment buildings around the city that are running an underground prostitution ring. And how the Cincinnati police go coincide with that is they're using their equipment. The Cincinnati Police Department, they have a cut with the mayor, and the mayor has a cut with international and domestic sex trafficking cartels. Okay, and how this coincides with businesses is so your daycares, a lot of your daycare teachers, a lot of your coaches, a lot of your principals, a lot of your YMCAs, a lot of your schools, a lot of your lifeguards, a lot of your property owners, property managers, bankers, notary Republicans, a lot of your Hamilton County judges and lawyers. It takes all these people to run a crime cartel to traffic the women and children in and out of homes. And what the Cincinnati police are doing is they're filling out false arrests, false police reports based off of lies to be able to have on paperwork. So what we have here in Cincinnati is a lot of people that have these badges of these cops, these law officials, these CPS workers. They're working double-handed in Cincinnati. So they have legit badges and they're doing criminal work, filling out lies and fraudulent perjury statements with the intent to sex traffic a victim. And what I mean by that is, so let's get back into the Cincinnati police. The Cincinnati police are filling out false complaints to be able to put illegal surveillance on women and children. And why are they doing this? They're doing this to make child pornography. And what they're doing with the child pornography is they're selling it underground black market. Now, where they're doing that at, I don't know. But I know they're doing it to hundreds and hundreds of Cincinnati women and children, including myself. I want to bring back those old audios, but I have audios explaining my earlier days at the Gamble Nipper YMCA, which is located in Western Hills, how my 9-year-old daughter, she was raped by a lifeguard named Zach. He goes to UC College. He looks like the all American, what they would call a white guy, all American white guy. Graduated from the science department, and he rapes children. He raped my daughter. He paid my landlord access. So these people have a lot of power, and then I want to get into Freemasons, because when you're getting to the mayor, and what you're seeing around the country, when you're seeing these judges, when you're seeing these lawyers, be held on trial, these are Freemasons also practicing their rituals through the sex trafficking of raping and murdering these children. Like I said, this thing is very complex here. I want to stay on target on, the first part here on how they're trafficking the women and children. Not only that, how me and my daughter was trafficked. I haven't seen my daughter since 2023. There may be those listening out there that do remember my child, and some of you, a lot of you will have never had, you don't know me, and like I said, I want to bring back the old videos, and maybe in the future, even just, currently revamp on how I got sex trafficked back in 2021 at the Gamble Nipper YMCA, through Glenda Harris, which is a daycare teacher, and also through Zachary, who is a lifeguard there, how he sex trafficked me and my daughter, and how he also carried the sexual rape of my daughter outside of the gym, behind my back, paying my landlord in 2021 to have access to her, and how Glenda Harris and also Zach was making money off of her, and also had other men and my neighbors coming in my home, raping my daughter, physically raping her, making her perform oral sex, exploiting her, and then how they put these cameras in your home. So they work with Cincinnati cops to put cameras in your home. Okay, so from false reports. And then what this cartel does is, once they build a relationship with your property owner, they also start moving people close proximity to the target. So we're going into sex trafficking here, okay, and what they're doing in Cincinnati, and what type of operation that AFTAB is running. So while AFTAB is telling everybody in Cincinnati that he's trying to keep the crime rate down, we're talking about a pedophile, we're talking about a predator, we're talking about a man that has sex with children, we're talking about a man that frequents the Gamble Nipper YMCA, and also he condones the relationships that those adults have at the Gamble Nipper YMCA when they're exploiting those children, when they're having sex rituals with those daycare children. So you're paying for a gym membership at places like, because the Gamble Nipper YMCA isn't the only place. And I want to get into the multiple organizations. Like I said, your schools, a lot of your schools here in Cincinnati, because it's not the building, it's the people that work there. At the BMV, they have cartel members that work at the BMV. Why? Because they use fraudulent, they use pictures with identity theft on false identification. So these are all the things that AFTAB is running. A lot of the cartel members, and anybody that may be listening out there. And this is not to say that everybody that has a temporary tag, heck, I just got a car and had a temporary license. No, but there's a certain pattern that you need to look out for when you're looking for a sex trafficker or a cartel member. A lot of them have temporary license plates. Those black and white ones when you first buy a car, or if you lose your plates or whatever, or for whatever legal reason, you get a temporary plate. A lot of cartel members, they travel around in temporary tags. They have, so what I'm getting at is they have people that work at the BMV that are willing to do illegal licenses, illegal IDs. They're willing to endorse illegal plates and whatnot. They have people in the Notary Republican, because they're not only sex trafficking, but they're stealing people's money through the legal system. That's a whole, so they're not just sex trafficking. They may also be doing drug trafficking as well. They're murdering women and children here. Okay, they're funneling women and children in and out of Cincinnati and maybe even out the country through the legal system because the judges are also in on the sex trafficking. There's a few judges that I'm going to talk about in later episodes because I don't want to make this too long and I don't want to make this too heavy because it's so much information. How the cops, the Cincinnati chief, the Cincinnati police chief, we're talking about the Cincinnati police. We're talking about the Hamilton County Sheriff's Division. I mean, we're talking about the Gamble Nippert YMCA. We're talking about UC psychiatrists. We're talking about bankers here, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about notary Republicans. We're talking about the Hamilton County coroner because they're covering up the dead bodies of a lot of these rape victims. We're talking about Hamilton County judges that are funneling a lot of these children through false paperwork with CPS. So we're talking about CPS workers. Basically, I mean, the list could go on because there's a lot of corporations. What I'm getting at is there's a big black market operation that's going on right underneath our noses as Cincinnati civilians. And I know a lot of us have questions as to why a lot of our children are coming up missing, why a lot of our children are coming up sexually abused out of a lot of these organizations in Cincinnati. Why are the Cincinnati cops turning a blind eye? Not only are they turning a blind eye to the crime, but they're also suppressing the victims by putting false charges on them, by premeditated scenarios of having, because AFTAB Peruval is using government money to move predators into the buildings of the targeted victims that they're videotaping through surveillance. So they're exploiting women and children by lacing their apartments to the point where you cannot undress without revealing your body. So they're doing sex slavery in Cincinnati. So I know I'm getting too heavy. I'm trying to slow down here, but the Cincinnati police are making forced child pornography through a lot of these organizations. They're targeting women and children, boys and girls clubs, all sorts of places. It's not the corporation itself. Many of the times it's the workers through the organization that are utilizing those legit businesses, public libraries, schools, gyms. They're using those places to sell information to sex traffickers for money. Your children's information, your information as a woman at a lot of these places, even some of your women's shelters and whatnot. Okay, so they're selling and they're murdering women and children. So if you ever wonder why the cops in Cincinnati and the Hamilton County Police, they're arresting the victims, they're murdering the victims, they're giving them false convictions to silence the victim. They're also doing it. A lot of these cops in Cincinnati are working with Child Protective Services to falsely convict the mothers to separate the child so they can sell the child in Cincinnati. So this is a lot of the things that AFTAB has going on. And further and future series, because I'm going to do all audios, I would like to talk about how they're also stealing money through the Hamilton County legal system. People who may not know that they have inheritances, just say like your family left you some money and you're not aware of it and it sits in a pooled database in the clerk of courts. We have Hamilton County clerk of courts that are stealing money by doing illegal paperwork for cartel members to steal other people's inheritances through forgery and perjury and fraud. I don't want to get too deep into that. I do want to thank you for listening. I'm going to wrap this up. I will have a part 2 out. I do want to keep Cincinnati civilians informed. I care about our children. I care about our civilians. Our leadership is very poor right now. I want to dig deeper into the Freemasons and just how poorly of a job they're doing and how they're not sticking by anything of what they claim that they represent, and how they're hurting our community with their rituals inside of our school systems, inside of our legal systems, and things of that nature. I hope you got something out of this. I will make another video, and it was a pleasure talking with you all tonight. I hope that you stay safe. I hope I said something that can keep you safe and that enlighten you to the situation of what's going on in Cincinnati, how dangerous it is, what AFTAB has done. AFTAB has sold our city to an international cartel, and he's working also with the vice mayor and the Cincinnati Police Department. Like I said, there are several divisions that are operating underground black market through legit businesses. Like I said, I don't want to make this too long. I will go further into different things as far as the sex trafficking in Cincinnati and how dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. Keep your kids safe out here. And once again, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for listening, and peace, and have a good night.